Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into the September month-ahead forecast. So we're going to have a look at 3 long-range models, see what they're showing for September. Look at CFSB2, look at CANSIPS, and look at Beijing Climate Centre as well. And then I'll give you the GavsWeatherVids.com September 2020 forecast. We'll have a review of August, see how the August forecast did. At the end of the video, we'll have a little sneak peek at October. That will be coming up right at the very end of the video. So this is the GavsWeatherVids September 2020 month-ahead forecast. We're going to be live streaming from 6 o'clock tonight. We'll be live streaming our 10 to 14 day video update. So that could be quite an interesting live stream, and that'll be from 6 o'clock. Hopefully, fingers crossed, fingers crossed, everything will go okay on the live stream tonight. But more about that from 6 o'clock. So let's go on with it, man. We're going to start off with the anomaly maps for August at UK Met. So this is how August 2020 is looking. Compared to the 81 to 2010 average. Generally a warmer than average month through most parts of the country. Northern and eastern parts got down to northeast was nearer normal there, probably because there was quite a lot of easterly winds during this August, and of course that brings cooler air in from off the North Sea. So yeah, for the northeast, not quite as warm there, near normal temperatures, but elsewhere generally above average. Most places sort of half a degree to 1 degree above average. Southeast corner is like 1 to 2 degrees above average through there. So generally above average temperatures. Obviously, it was very hot through the early part of the month, and then it became much cooler in the last week of the month. Quite a wet month as well, so northern parts of Scotland came out with a drier than average month, as did the extreme southeast of England, but otherwise most places have above average rainfall during August for around 175 to 200% of average through some parts of Wales, the Midlands, southeast England. See, it is rather variable though, a lot of variation here and there. So for example, it's a very wet area like across eastern parts of Wales and just into West Midlands, but then go a little bit further eastwards into like the central Midlands. There's some areas that only have average rainfall. So there is quite a bit of regional variation. That probably is down to thunderstorms. Of course, when the heat wave broke, there were some really torrential thunderstorms around, but not everywhere got those storms. So the areas that did get hit by thunderstorms at the end of the heat wave, I think they get significantly wetter than average anomalies, up to 200% of average for some specific areas, whereas other areas not all that far away only have like average rainfall. So that does indicate quite a bit of regional variation down to thunderstorms, but generally it was quite a wettish sort of August, quite a wet August, except for the far north Scotland and the extreme, I do mean very extreme, sort of coastal part of southeastern England. Now the GavsWeatherVids.com August forecast went for a warmer than average month and also near normal rainfall, but with regional variation. We expect a lot of thunderstorms during August. That will bring some areas out wetter than average. Some areas we thought would come out probably drier than average even. I think overall it has been a little bit wetter than we anticipated, so I don't think the precipitation side of the forecast went all that well. I think the temperature side of the forecast went better, though. We said probably going to be the warmest August since 2003 or 2004. We have had our joint warmest August with 2004 since 2003, so the central temperature for August 2020 is bang on the same CT that we had in 2004. So yes, I think the temperature side of things went better. Most places around a degree to, for the southeast, a little bit above 1 degree above average. So I'm a little bit happier with the temperature side of the forecast, but rainfall side of the forecast was probably we probably underestimated how unsettled the month would come. We also said that the last week of the month, so we said that like first week 10 days like to be very hot. That verified. And then said the last week of the month will probably turn a lot cooler and more unsettled, and that will pull the overall temperature down. That also verified. So I think overall it's a relatively, it wasn't too bad forecast. It was relatively decent, let's say. Not perfect, but I think the August forecast went reasonably well. Let me know in the comments what you think to GavsWeatherVids.com August 2020 forecast. Of course, that does close the door on meteorological summer, so in a few days' time, probably next week sometime, we will do a verification for the summer forecast and see how the summer forecast performed. Right then, so that's it for August. Let's move on to September then. So this is how the CFSV2 700 millibar height anomaly is looking for September 2020. Generally looking like quite an unsettled sort of month, really. So below average heights sitting over to the north of the country, above average heights pulled out into the middle of the North Atlantic. Winds are sort of coming in northwest to southeast. So yes, it looks rather, looks like rather unsettled month. Low pressure dominating. Winds are in from the west to northwest. The jet streams on the northwest southeast alignment. Looks pretty cool and pretty unsettled. Really, let's have a look at temperature anomaly. And rather unusually, as CFSV2, it is actually going for a cooler than average month here across the west part of Europe. You don't see that all that often with the CFSV2, but there we go. We've got Ireland, we've got the UK, we've got France, we've got northern parts of Spain, and even North Africa forecast to be a little bit cooler than average, as well as Iceland and southern parts of Greenland. So, yes, you don't see that very often. Cooler than average, September being predicted by CFSV2 at the moment. Hotter than average on this eastern side of Europe, into west parts of Russia, otherwise near north. It's one of the coolest forecasts that we've had from a CFSV2, I think. Coolest monthly forecast for a very long time. Looks rather unsettled as well, so above average rainfall for northern parts of Britain, particularly Scotland, also Scandinavia. So yeah, you can see where jet stream is likely to be during this month. So might be bringing in jet stream a little bit like that. We've got low pressure from here, and yeah, just a rather unsettled September and quite cool as well with CFS V2. So our CANSIPS is looking very, very similar actually. This is mean cell pressure rather than 500 millibar heights. But if we compare the two, let's compare the two. So that's CFSV2, that's CANSIPS. They do look very similar actually, don't they? Virtually you would say identical really, with high pressure centred around here in the middle of the North Atlantic. Lower pressure is up here, and into the UK. If anything, it could be a little bit more lower pressure though for the UK. So that trough low pressure is to the north. CFSV2 is also digging in to the UK and into much of Northern Europe as well. So this does look like could be a very unsettled September if CANSIPS is right. Coming out a bit cooler than average as well. This is a bit of a shock, I'm sure. You don't normally see these long-range models going for below average temperatures, but there we are. Cooler than average temperatures being predicted for September from CANSIPS as well. And rainfall anomaly is coming out above average, so a cool and wet September on the way if CFSV2 and CANSIPS are right. Also looking very wet with CANSIPS across many parts of Europe as well. So, yeah, we've got two models looking cool and wet. Let's see what Beijing Climate Centre has to say. Got to say a big thank you to Dylan Holbrook for sending this through to us. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly from the Beijing Climate Centre for September. This is the 1st through to the 30th of September. Lower pressure to our north, higher pressure is to the south, all looking rather westerly. I'm not sure it's quite as unsettled though with the Beijing Climate Centre as those other two models are. I think the lower pressure is weaker and pushed a little bit further northwards with the Beijing Climate Centre. The temperature on is ever so slightly above average, not particularly warm, but it is a little bit above average, in contrast to the other two, which hinting at cooler than average temperatures. The rainfall anomaly suggests a north-south split of Beijing Climate Centre, so northern parts of the country, wetter than average, southern parts of the country are average to a little bit drier than average, if anything. So, yeah, it's just a case, I think, of how cool and how unsettled we go with this September. I would probably tend to go more with the Beijing Climate Centre on this. I've got a feeling that CANSIPS and the CFS could be going a little bit over the top with that very wet and cool signal for September. I think we'll have very wet and cool weather at times, but I think that will be like split up with drier, warmer periods as well. So a proper changeable sort of September coming up. And overall, I would suspect the temperature line probably comes out quite close to average. Maybe a little bit below average for more northern and western areas, maybe a little bit above average for more southern and eastern areas. Not a particularly big deviation either way, though. So I don't think we're going to get an exceptionally warm September. I think the CFS and Beijing might be a little bit on the cool side for this month. So I would pitch like the temperature for September to be very close to average. Rainfall wise, again, I think CFS and basic climate centre, TFS and Kansas could be going a little bit over top. So I would suggest that precipitation-wise, again, probably quite close to average, really, for like southern and eastern areas. For north and west areas, perhaps a bit wetter than average up there, because this just does look like it'll be quite a westerly month, and that will bring the wettest conditions into the north and to the west. So I think for the north and west, probably yes, a wetter than average month is quite likely. Southern and east areas, wet at times, but also with drier conditions mixed in. Temperature-wise, so average there, wet and average in the north. Temperature-wise, probably near normal. Again, maybe a bit cooler than average in the northwest, and a little bit warmer than average down in the south and in the southeast. I think there's a decent chance that we will get at least one very significant depression, maybe more than one, due to the fact that we are having quite an active hurricane season. I would assume that one of those will find their way into the North Atlantic through some point this month and probably give us a vigorous spell of very wet and potentially very windy weather as well. So I would expect that our first named storm, which will be Storm Aidan, I think we'll get our first named storm in September. We could even get two, but I would definitely say one is quite likely, and a spell of severe gales and heavy rain at some point through this month is quite likely, but not continuously wet. So I think we will get drier, warmer interludes, and that's more particularly for southern and eastern parts of the country. So all in all, quite an interesting September with a lot of contrasting weather going on. Let's just have a very quick look at the CFSB2 for October before we go. So this is the 700 millibar high anomaly from CFSB2 for October. Going for lower pressure to the north, higher pressure is more to the south. A couple of days ago, this was going quite anticyclonic for October. Now it looks like it could be going a little bit more unsettled, actually, for October. But we'll worry about October when we get to it. We've got enough to concentrate on for September. So that's it. So in final analysis, very sort of averagey sort of month, I think. A little bit above, maybe, with temperatures in the south, a little bit below with temperatures in the north. And again, rainfall-wise, perhaps near normal. Rainfall for the south and the east, and wetter than average in the north and the west. Drier, warmer spells interspersed with wetter, windy spells. Expect at least one very significant sort of depression, probably a named storm, to give a spell of very wet and windy weather at some point through the month. Right then, so that's it, September forecast. We're going to be back at 6 o'clock with your 10 to 14 day video update live streamed. So we'll check in, see how we're all doing. We take questions with that and generally hang out for an hour. And within the live stream, we will live stream a 10 to 14 day video update as long as I remember to enable the display capture. More about that later. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.